Hey, this is Venkat Krishnaya, so founder and CEO of CloudThrottle. Deliver fixed price government contracts. Okay, so today we are talking about one thing: how to stop runaway cloud spam. This is a common scenario across the cloud usage. Okay, so our focus is very simple, right? Put budget discipline first. Let's get into the next slide. So, what happens when you have any workload or any application you're building or anything you are supporting? You know the budget associated with that, right? So, the what happens? Okay, so when the budget is associated with that, probably the fiscal year or a particular month. Okay, so whatever the duration of the project, the people, okay, the engineering team, they forget about putting the budget constraint on their application or account it is dealing with. When you don't have any discipline of monitoring the budget, okay, so they don't know what they are dealing with. So one bad incident may kill your profits or it may switch off your project itself. That's what we are seeing in the federal side. Okay, so that too, bidding a fixed price project is very, very difficult. Okay, so we need to make a profit. If one engineer makes a mistake, we lose the profit. Okay, so that's reality. So another thing, okay, what we see the runaway cost is a shared accounts. Okay, so when we have a shared accounts, too many people are handling it. They don't know who's responsible paying for those resources running in the shared accounts. So in the best practices in the federal side, we avoid sharing the accounts. So only few accounts will be shared. Okay, so where it is needed, but there is a specific product owner associated with. Okay, so he's responsible taking care of the accounts. And also ignore alerts, right? If you're getting too many alerts to one guy, so he will ignore. Okay, so if there is no ownership built into the alerts who take care, okay, so they always ignore, so you'll breach the budget. So next is a way of AI workloads. You know that AI is picking up very fast and storage is growing. As we've seen in the federal side, okay, so we are seeing almost 3 to 4 times is growth rate compared to the previous years. So that's where the challenge is coming in our projects, how to manage those workloads, how to see, how to control the storage cost, and also the EC, GPU cost or instance cost. So why it happens? Okay, so let's think about that. Speed over discipline, right? Okay, so engineers think, okay, they want to launch, they want to get the solution fast. Okay, they forget about setting up the budget. They always think, okay, we set up budget later. If that is the thing, okay, so we always end up in more runaway spends. Next is weak visibility. So we are keep saying from the day one, missing tax, right? Tax is very important to see cost accountability. Missing tax is a very big thing. Okay, so we need to put tax in the every resource and account to monitor the cost associated with that. Next is the no name responder. As I told, okay, so who is responsible? What kind of alerts? Like when the hit some percentage, okay, so who take the actions? We need to have that kind of thing. Otherwise, there is no way dealing with that. So alerts will become a noise. So next is no cleanup culture. So every sprint, what we do the cleanup. So to delete our data if needed, if not needed, if it is something needed later stage, we need to move it to the cold storage. That's what we do. These are the common patterns we see runaway spend. Let's go to the next slide. So budget discipline for a lean team. Okay, so this is what happens in the federal side. Okay, so it's not a big team. So every project will be there, or application they bid the contract, they manage. Maximum is with 15, 20 people working for that. So how to set the discipline? That is very important, right? So when define the budget threshold, we commonly go with 60, 80, 100 rule. You can change it. Okay, so that is not a hard rule for them. So in some of the application where we have monitoring critically, we set up to 5 thresholds, up to 110%, because we allow to crash beyond the 100%. So we need to define the thresholds. Otherwise, there is no way to take actions. Set dollar boundaries. Okay, so every product or a project account, there is a dollar associated with that. Talk to your stakeholders. Okay, so owner who manages that, put those boundaries on those accounts or resources, right? So next is escalation hierarchy. This is very, very important what we learned on our fixed price budget monitoring. Who is responsible, what kind of threshold? So for example, 60%, we send the alert to only engineers, not to the manager or finance team. Why? Engineers is the first place where they look into the thing, investigate, okay, right sizing, what is happening. They need to optimize. Otherwise, it will going to consume a lot of budget before that period, right? Next is we need to escalate to managers. So managers, why? Because once the engineer cannot solve that optimization, right sizing, maybe changing the architecture or a workload, we don't know yet, right? So then they're going to discuss with the manager. Manager will go to engineering team, they discuss, and they need to, come to a conclusion what is happening. If the manager cannot take, okay, so if just keep on growing the budget consumption, next it go to the finance team, right? Okay, so finance people who are responsible bringing the money for this project, right? They need to know what is going on because they need some lead time to bring the funds if something is needed. Otherwise, they come to know because if they want to pay a bill, okay, if they don't have money, so it's very hard to finance guy to bring that dollar value, right? So that's why we need to have a hierarchy level escalation policy. So um, escalation workflow is very, very important, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, so investigate, right size by engineers, manage and review by uh, uh, managers. Okay, so approve and optimize. Okay, so say some architecture change. Okay, they need to approve. They need to argue for the dollar amount for to implement the solution, whatever the causing. Stakeholder, they want to fund it and realign the their project. Otherwise, we seen in the federal government they cut off the project. Yes, it is a reality. If we cut off the project, so we lose the money there. Okay, so do this across accounts. So this is what I recommend for our teams. Okay, so standardized spend limits. Okay, create a reusable template for OU level, project level, or account level. So that is the very much required. You need to standardize the template. Otherwise, you don't know what you are dealing with. Next, enforce tagging. So you need to keep minimum tagging like owner, cost center, environment. Otherwise, we don't know what that resources belongs to. This is we enforce for all our engineers in the team. Scheduling offers, we mentioned a lot of times, right? Okay, so when you don't need those resources, shut it off. Okay, so in the federal agency, okay, so they made a policy after 8 p.m. they're shutting down all the dev test and sandboxes. Why? Because one guy is working, doesn't want to spend entire system up and running till morning 6 a.m. So we created a policy there, federal government, to shut it down after 8 p.m. and also during the weekends, and also make sure that some override schedules will be there. For example, say they want to release on Monday. Okay, if you do the shutdown automatically on the weekends, they cannot work. So there should be some override options should be there when you build schedules. Okay, so make sure that properly create a lambda scripts to take care of those kind of start and stop and override those schedules. Then operating model. Okay, so operating model is assign clear owner. Okay, so every account or every project, they have the owner associated. So you need to assign that owner to the OU level and project level. So make sure that he is responsible for that, the cost consumption. Next is centralize the visibility. So you need to have a real-time spend and budget monitoring. If you don't know what is cost occurring, you are running blind. Okay, so you need to have a real-time spend and budget. So use the Cost Explorer. There is a tool called QuickSight. We use often every federal agency QuickSight. This is very simple to set up, very, very, very cost effective. Okay, you'll get to know, okay, you can drill down the cost where it is consuming. So set up those and leave it there and give access to your team. Okay, so that is the one we needed. Stakeholder finance decide. Apply same rule across all the accounts. Okay, so if you have about 50, 60 accounts, put budget in every account. Don't leave any of the account. Why? So we'll tell you one example. So we have one account, we are running some workload, we removed our stack, right? Okay, so what happened? Surrounding supporting, resources keep running like SNS, SQS. Probably we forget about Lambda for Probably we didn't delete the EBS volume, right? So it went orphan. We never notice unless you go dig into those areas, right? So better always, set up the budget, every account. Okay, doesn't matter what it is. Apply and see and change the things when the workload is not there. Okay, so don't put it $2,000 when the no workload is there, right? That won't never give you alert. Okay, so make sure that every spend you go on, set the budget, adjust the budget. One thing we learned, budget is not a static. Okay, remember this, budget is not a static. We need to assess here and there. So whatever the budget you associate, make them roll over or roll forward kind of thing. And also some scenarios like when we're testing or when we're doing the design development phase, we require more money for that account or workload than the uh, design phase, right? So make sure that it's not a static amount every month or the SDLC side. So that's what we keep doing. The lessons we learned, the key takeaway: start early, set boundaries, enforce accountability. That is very much required to stay within the budget. Next, rollout. Okay, 60, 80, 100. Okay, so you set whatever you want. It does not mean that you need to stick on to this rule, but something threshold should be there. Okay, so in AWS budget, there is a setup. You can set up to the five, more than five threshold levels. And also every threshold put the action, like whom you need to send it, right? You configure that. Make sure that you are sending the right people or a right channel, or like in Slack, wherever you want to send the alert. Name the owners who is associated with that account. Next is schedule 30 minutes Friday cleanup. That's what we do every Friday. We shut down. Okay, we set up a 30-minute scheduled meeting to clean up the data, like aging data, and look at the what is the top five resources are consuming. We right size it. Then idle resources will shut it down. So these are the takeaway from fixed price contract we bid, and we make profit out of it. Thank you.